There's no such thing, sir, as a beautiful wall. There's no such thing, sir, no such thing at all.
Hi, everybody. I'm so happy to be here with you all celebrating the release of our baby, A Few Concerns, which is officially by Meaghan Burke and the Rhythm Method. So I'm Meaghan Burke, and this is the Rhythm Method, which is a string quartet. Would you guys like to introduce yourselves? Perhaps starting with Leah?
Leah, I play violin.
I'm Marina. I also play violin.
I'm Wendy. I used to play viola. No, wait, I play viola. I am the erstwhile violist of the Rhythm Method, and I'm very happy to have played on this album.
And Carrie?
The usurper. I did not play on this album. The second violist of the Rhythm Method.
And Carrie is going to be joining us on our release show on Saturday the 23rd at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. So we're super excited to get to play the whole album with her. If you listen to the album as it exists in the interwebs or on CD, you'll get to hear Wendy Richmond's wonderful playing. And so happy to have all of you guys with me to chat a little bit. So this particular album consists of songs that I wrote for the group, which kind of originally came out of my arranging solo songs that I had for cello and voice for string quartet, and then gradually, sort of with the love and support and creativity and awesomeness of the Rhythm Method, grew into kind of its own arm of my songwriting compositional practice. So it's been really amazing to get to develop this kind of like string quartet song thing with all of you. And I'm sort of curious what that feels like from your end, like what it's like to sort of be a string quartet band in this kind of scenario.
Well, it's very fun. And I love that the way Meaghan approaches writing for us is very personal, and that she's really thinking about our playing and what we like doing. And yeah, it always feels very uniquely written for us.
And I love that there's a good mix of things that are written and things that are flexible. So it always sounds like you wrote the whole thing. Like, as an audience member, I'm constantly impressed. I'm like, they're so cool, and she's so good at singing. But when you're like looking at the parts, you're like, oh, actually a lot of this is just being created on the spot. But it's really hard from the outside to tell how much of it is the same every time and how much of it is spontaneous. And I really like that blending zone.
I think the spontaneity part and also the flexibility even within the written stuff was one of the things that was really challenging for me, especially when at the beginning of my time with the group, like trying to put them together rather quickly and not knowing how much of my own. Now I know, of course I should have put my own stamp on it, but at the beginning I really wanted to do it right, and when I finally figured out that the flexibility was a big part of it and that each of our own creative voices was really what Meaghan wanted, then I was able, and I think that I really got that when we were recording this album, that like I was then able to get over that and think and just enjoy what was there and enjoy like what Meaghan was asking for that wasn't necessarily on the page. And that was really fun, but also hard. I need permission to be creative.
I think we all kind of do sometimes in our field in the way that new music often functions. So I'm very glad when I have that, and I'm glad to give it to other people.
Meaghan's music kind of exists for me like in its own idiomatic space. It's like
we always have a hard time when we're trying to get it out to presenters, describe it. We were just talking about this. They're like, okay, Meaghan, host cabaret, like 12-tone pop. That's kind of like even within the Meaghan with Meaghan plus rhythm method repertoire. There's so much variation of it's like impossible to categorize in some ways, but at the same time, it all very clearly sounds like a Meaghan Burke original. So yeah, I don't know. It's been really fun, kind of like growing with Meaghan through these. I don't know how many years, like 7 years or something.
Going on 7, yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm the only one who's been there since the earliest days, but yeah, we've all been kind of growing with it for a while. So
I've been a fan since the earliest days.
I think it's going to be really. I'm excited to hear with Carrie because I think that I learned a bunch of the songs with like hearing recordings of Anne Lanzelotti playing, and so to hear Carrie do all of them now, it's like it's not doing the same versions of the same thing. It's actually like creating other music again, and I think I'm excited to hear that.
I mean, I just took dictation of all of this.
So anything you play out of tune will be intentionally so because it's supposed to be like me.
Well, Wendy played that flat.
So my next question for you all is whether there's a particular lyric or song or musical moment from the album that kind of resonates with you right now, in wherever you're at in this very strange time that we're living in.
I can go first with, I mean, we were just talking about it yesterday when we ran through Cry, and we're talking about that experience of crying on the subway that anybody who's ever lived in a big city has experienced and will relate to, and how we haven't been having that so much recently because we're not really riding the subway that much, but
we've been crying more when we do ride
in random places. So
I think also, I mean, for me, the kind of most obvious one that pops out is Superpower. And just like, there's a little moment when you say, I don't want no superpower, I don't want no nation state. And then the backup vocals say, don't want no nation state. And that's kind of how I feel.
Yeah. I think it's hard to follow up with anything else after that. It's pretty accurate. I like that though, that I mean just the whole thing and the whole trajectory of the album, that there's a lot of darkness and a lot of like highlighting the things that have been pretty rough over the last few years and just that are rough in life in general, but there's still this feeling of, I mean, you're like the way you sing, Meaghan, is like you just punch it out. And so having this feeling that like we're just like throwing these emotions and there's something empowering about singing about all of the hard things and playing with all of that is still positive, and that we still have our voices and we still have a way to kind of process all of this. So I feel like, I mean, I really feel like the whole album does that. And it's a little hard to pick one thing because it just feels, it's such a good unit of work that it's awesome. That's all. You should buy it, people.
Agreed.
Yeah, it's very cathartic.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you for that word.
One of the lines that's feeling particularly resonant for me, it's this idea of the wandering womb, which is something that I wrote in a time when it felt a little bit more theoretical. And in this particular time for me personally, but I think probably for a lot of people out there, there is this sense of like the real travel that you get to do is the wild roller coaster of your own emotional landscape. So yeah, kind of finding like the metaphorical and the literal womb wandering about inside your body, and this like power that we all have for creation and destruction within ourselves, and trying to figure out how to keep that under control with everything going on in the world.
Yeah, we've all been saying how we miss touring, but I guess we've all been on that tour for like how long?
And one of the songs that you would have hoped would be less relevant during this pandemic time would be "Smile," and yet people still ask me to smile when I'm wearing a mask. That's happened, and I was like, "What are you thinking?" And then people are still like trying to chat up strangers on the subway. I was like, "It's a pandemic." So that song is still alive and kicking.
That's interesting to hear. I was actually wondering that because I have not personally had a lot of experience with being catcalled in this time or asked to smile. So I can't say I'm comforted to know that it's still going on, but
I have a friend who's actually in the hospital right now, and she's okay. But she was saying, like, she can't go outside, and she's been walking up and down this one hallway all the time, which is like awful. But that she's been getting and she's wearing a mask, and she's been getting catcalled by other patients.
Oh my God!
Not being told to smile necessarily, but yeah.
I've been getting catcalled when I'm wearing like a huge jacket and a mask over my face and like sweatpants and sneakers, and I'm like walking my dog, and people are like, yeah, it's been more like, "Hey, gorgeous," or something. I'm like, you have no idea what I look like. But also,
you're just hot no matter what.
Things
possible.
I can tell that you're beautiful on the inside.
Exactly. I was talking to somebody though, who was like saying that her friend like has been getting catcalled all the time, and her theory, she was like, like the bottom half of my face was just holding me back.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like this is the ultimate proof that it was never about what you were wearing, right?
Oh.
Never about your lipstick.
Well, I guess my final question, I feel like talking about the songs from the album that resonated with us got a little bit into some concerns that we have, maybe. Some concerns and some raw emotions. But as we kind of enter an era with like some glimmers of hope amidst the many dark, terrible things happening, I'm just curious what some of your hopes are for the coming year.
I think there's just been so much uncertainty for the past year. I mean, of course, for the past 4 years, but like the hope politically that I'm feeling right now, I think is a little bit separate from the professional, personal hope, which is just, well, no, I think they are related. That I just want to know what's going to happen tomorrow, or not be worried constantly about what's about to happen, and just have things be a little bit boring and predictable. I've been finding such solace in any kind of routine. Just like chopping onions, like it feels really good because I know what I know what the end product is. And I think that's why I'm following recipes a lot more than I used to. So just like, I'm going to do this thing. There will be an answer within an hour or a day or a month. And I will know, like, even if it's a yes or no thing, I just know that there will actually be some kind of answer.
I kind of feel like it's not the opposite, but I feel like just like this year, especially with all of the like social unrest and like everything that's been going on, has really demonstrated so powerfully, I think, that like we shouldn't go back to the old normal. Like we have this kind of moment where we can, it's not like a total reset, obviously, because there's like all of these systems are still in place, but like, I don't know, like as we kind of start going back into creating some kind of a new normal that isn't related to a global pandemic, just like, I don't know, I guess my hope is that like as a society, and obviously this is like on the personal level and also just more collectively, we can like do better in so many ways. But my hope is that we can start moving in that direction at least, and not just like accept the old normal as acceptable, because it wasn't really.
Yeah, no, that was very similar to what I was going to say, which is just that I hope that people continue to be concerned as they start to get their lives back and continue to fight for equality and for more rights for people in like so many different aspects of their lives that became so clear because of the pandemic, and I mean was before, but became more revealed because of the pandemic. And yeah, I think that's my main hope, is just that people will continue to pay attention and be concerned.
I just want, like, we've had so much opportunity to think and to reflect, and for people to just continue to be thoughtful and plan, actually, and planning their ideas of how to change these systems, rather than just, Marina, you're right, like rather than just going along with what it was, but stepping back and taking a little more time to do things. Sorry, Carrie.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with all of that. Definitely hoping that as we get back into like being able to see tomorrow and be like, tomorrow's going to be a day when we can plan things. Being able to like reconstitute our habits in a new way and not just reassume all of our old things that we did because we've done them forever, because now it feels like we've spent 10 years not doing those things. So I hope that's enough to like break all of the habits that weren't good and be able to choose how we go forward.
Yeah, I think I share many of these hopes with you all these hopes. And just kind of piggybacking on that, I feel like one of the things I've been thinking about the most in the past year is care. I feel like the idea of care has been coming up a lot more because of the sort of realization of like the essentiality of care work. And so kind of in my personal life and in my musical life in particular, I really want to find more space for care and understand more how care actually fits into music, which, sad to say, is not something that I had really thought about that much before, and that I don't think was particularly cultivated in the kind of musical education that I had. And then I think in the broader world that, that our institutions can prioritize care, that our families can prioritize care, that our friendships can prioritize care, both self-care and care for other people. And I think if we can manage that when there's not a global pandemic, a lot of things might be better. So I'm going to bid you all farewell. So thank you so much for joining me to chat about concerns, hopes, songs, and all the other stuff. And I can't wait to make music with you all at our release show, and to
Sometimes
continue
a girl
listening
needs
to
cry in
Wendy.
the subway. Sometimes a girl needs
And
cry in the
hopefully making
subway.
music with her
Sometimes a
again
girl
sometime.
needs to cry.
Thanks, friends.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Sometimes a boy needs to cry in a stairwell. Sometimes a boy needs to cry in a stairwell. Sometimes a boy needs to cry. Sometimes a man needs to cry on the sidewalk. Sometimes a man needs to cry on the sidewalk. Sometimes a man needs to cry.